Hi, welcome back. Giant Bomb's E3 2019 coverage continues. It's give me another couple days and I'll point the right way the first time. Now it's gone. I missed the window. I'm Jeff Gerstmann. We're here with another couch full of wonderful guests and some folks backing them up behind the couch as well.
Wait.
What?
It's fine.
It's accurate.
You're totally right. You're 100% right.
Dan Greenawalt from Turn 10 is here. Great to see you, sir.
How you doing?
Doing real good. Rebecca Ford from Digital Extremes. How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Awesome. Mark Noseworthy of Bungie.
Great.
How are things? Good. Outstanding. Luke Smith, also of Bungie.
Yep, just chilling in the back.
Yeah.
I'm back here causing trouble.
See, that's the independent development lifestyle. You just do what you want, man.
Extremely punk back here.
Yeah. Ryan Payton back there.
Also independent.
Exactly.
Also extremely punk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wearing shorts.
Rocking the shorts, the solidarity.
Studio name camouflage, not wearing camoufage though.
No.
You don't have to.
Don't have to. Independent.
Exactly.
Punk rock.
Yeah.
Buddy here, Luke.
We're real close.
This is going to be the best day ever.
So, big year for
Good start.
We talked a little bit about the Lego add-on coming for Forza Horizon 4 last segment, but we saw you in the Project Scarlet segment talking up the future of technology, and as I've said off and on for years, cars seem like one of the ways to really showcase, hey, check out this new technology, because people know what cars look like, right? I mean,
That's very true. I will say, they traditionally racing games have been used. I was on the original Project Gotham for the original Xbox, and they have been used as launch titles. We're really shifting gears, overused analogy. I'll say we're changing our focus,
changing lanes a little bit.
Yes, that's even better. We're really looking at how we can grow the Forza community more broadly, and so things like Lego are great for that, but also the technologies like xCloud. And Game Pass, which has really added a ton of new people into Forza Horizon 4. This allows us to reach a much broader group of people. And what I love about Project Scarlet is it's really at the center of all of these technologies and the future for Microsoft. And so, we're obviously incubating in that space, and it's very interesting to Turn 10.
Yeah.
But it's really the ability to create a much bigger community that's into cars and that's into games. That's really what our tribe's all about.
Sure. I imagine, like, at the end of the day, like, a graphical power is one thing, but all these other tools and toys you kind of get to play with really kind of gets you thinking, like, okay, well, what else can we do? Obviously, you throw more polygons at the cars, they're going to look more like real cars, reflections, this, that, ray tracing, this, all that. But I imagine that the rest of that technology and what it does for bringing people in, probably like just as, if not more exciting.
It is exciting. The technology is always exciting, but I see us right now with Motorsport in particular. We've really reformed the team. We supported 7 longer than we ever had any title. It's been 30 updates, and we've been doing esports through that. But more recently, we refactored the entire team to be feature teams based around players. We're bringing new players all the time and doing a lot more UR and testing with these people. But this incubation process for the next project means we don't actually have a date. Which I think has been sort of surprising to people because they're expecting, the technology angle that you're talking about and the cadence that we've been on. And we're basically stopping all of that and getting into a place where we can create what we hope is the future of automotive entertainment. And that's going to come from a player-first approach, and it's the only way we'll be able to build communities. So it's kind of exciting. I mean, the team's really, doing new things and prototyping new ideas, and there's some pretty shocking stuff going on in the studio. But we will always have the Forza Tech engine, and yes, it will always showcase great technology. But at this point, the technology is so extensible. You can be on a high-end gaming rig, you can be on a low-end laptop, and you need a engine that's going to be able to scale to all of those places. Same thing with accessibility. You just need more options for gamers now. So whether it's subtitles under games or an ultra PC mode, we need our experiences to be able to reach everybody on the planet.
Totally. Yeah, cool. Warframe, E3 gets so much about like, hey, here's the brand new game just announced off the, just like here it is, bam, trailer, all this other stuff. Warframe has been this like growing powerhouse for years.
It's 7 years now, so it's it's been around a while.
So how do you what's the attempt to do with Warframe at something like E3? Is it like, hey, we've got new content to announce, or is it just like, hey, just reminding the rest of the industry that likes to, attach to whatever's new, Warframe is still out here, big.
It's literally
and
that.
just throwing up middle fingers to everybody else, like how big it is. Yeah.
I've gone to 2 E3s ever. This is my first in 5 years, so we don't come a lot. But we're actually here promoting a different convention, so that's fun. So we get to come to E3.
So you're just like sneaking into E3 and being like, come to TennoCon.
Literally that. That's what I've said on every show, including this one at present time. So yeah, come to TennoCon. It's sold out, sorry. But watch it. You can watch it online. It's going to be awesome. That's where we're going to show kind of like the next update for Warframe, what we've been working on the past year. So it's crazy because, yeah, like you said, we've been around a while and we continue to just release weird things. And
yeah. It's every time I read up on, hey, what's up with Warframe? Every time I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right.
We did that.
All right, Warframe.
Yeah, so it's just kind of going to our own tempo. We're taking the space in Space Ninja pretty literally this year, so we're going to be doing some ship combat that we've called Empyrean. So it's kind of like you get your own spaceship that you can actually fly around now, and it has gunners on the side. You can board enemy crafts. They can board you. We're kind of conceptualizing it as sort of like FTL in space, but still the Warframe flavor. So it's been pretty crazy to see that come together, and to be able to talk about it now a bit more openly.
Cool.
To then talk about it more at our own
Just
convention.
say like, hey, here's this thing we're doing, but like really come to TennoCon.
Yeah, or watch it.
Oh yeah, you can come to TennoCon and like
stand and
try to sneak in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, in London, Ontario, you can hang out and learn some Canadian things. I don't know.
Go to Tim Hortons.
Go to Tim Hortons, exactly. You can
That would be a Canadian thing you could learn.
exactly. Or Swiss Chalet, which I think is only Canadian. Is Swiss Chalet a thing in the States?
I don't
Swiss
think
Chalet?
so.
It's a chicken restaurant, no?
Yeah.
No,
chicken's
definitely.
chicken's not very good.
That's my first job.
But it is a
so
chicken restaurant.
It is a
It
chicken
really is.
restaurant. Yeah, I'm actually here to talk about my first job as well at Swiss Chalet. So
Can we expect to see chicken restaurants making its way into Destiny? Mark?
We've got a pretty extensive backlog of things that we might put in the game. Chicken restaurants are they're not in the top
Guardians
third,
gotta
but
eat.
it's maybe in the middle section.
Do
but-
Guardians have to eat?
do they actually?
Is this a Luke question?
Yeah.
No, I want you to stay on Mark for this one.
Okay, Guardians have to eat.
Guardians have to eat.
I'm not sure. Like they're immortal beings, right? So like,
cars
what would
eat?
happen
There's
if?
that ramen stand.
Yeah, they can eat. We know that's possible, and we've seen Cade drink that blue shit or whatever, so
Okay.
they can ingest.
Is that in the
things,
lore
but-
book? Blue shit or
Yeah,
whatever?
that's the official name, right, Luke?
That is a Luke question.
And
but
so, they're immortal beings, and so they can get shot, they can die, they come back to life. Like, what happens if they don't eat? Like, I don't
if you
think they
starve to
die.
death, do you come back
Yeah.
thick still? Or normal sized?
Yeah, I don't know. So that's a part of the lore that maybe we need to spend a little bit more time on, but
These are the sorts of things you can explore now that you're out on your own.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
The chicken barriers were pretty tall, and now we can vault over those
Great.
with the independent spirit in our wings.
That's fantastic. That's a saucy answer. So
Don't be a dip.
All right, well, I'll stay abreast of your upcoming developments. But the
Fuck it,
recent
I'm down.
announcements, that last live stream you ran, kind of it was after the Stadia stuff, but kind of saying like, hey, here's the future of Destiny 2. Man, it seems like a lot of game announcements. You always have people somewhere in the middle. You have people that are really positive, people that are really negative. It feels like all the live chat I saw, like it just seemed like off the charts. People were like, "Yeah, they're putting the mystery back in Destiny 2. They're doing the free to play, this transition."
It was pretty awesome for the team for us to see that. Like we knew the messages was going to be really complicated. We're telling people a lot of stuff, right? Hey, we're truly independent. Here's the updated vision for the game. We've got a free play version of the game. We've got standalone expansion packs. There's all this stuff, and we're like, are people really going to grok this? Like, are they even going to just understand it? And they did, right? Which was, I think, a testament to a bunch of the work the team did and all the assets.
The
and all that
leaking
kind of
on
stuff.
Engadget was helpful.
Yeah. And in a way, like maybe it kind of was because we had like leaks for 2 or 3 days, and so people were primed. We're like, is this what's going on? And then when I look, we always look at Reddit and it's social media and Reset Era, and that's probably the last place I check because I normally go there and just walk away feeling really bad. And normally like the third or fourth page, we'll do something positive, and everyone's really happy. By page 4. Everyone who hates Destiny shows up and just like takes a big dump on it, and then I close the browser. And this time I got to page like 23, 24, so I read like 2,400 posts, and it was like still almost universally positive. We're like, maybe we're onto something. You know, like maybe we're making some of the right moves here. So it was pretty encouraging.
So some of the stuff around the announcement made it sound like, and maybe I'm like extrapolating like 5 years down the line or something like that, but it sounded like the sort of situation where maybe there's no Destiny 3, there's just Destiny. Is that something that is that how you're kind of viewing things going forward? Is like, hey, there's the Destiny experience, and then we're gonna keep thinking about these standalone expansions and that form of content?
I took the chicken question.
Yeah. Great. That's a good this,
See, careful when you shove the chicken question off the mark.
I just feel like I'm getting fried.
Oh my god.
Okay, so your question basically is, it felt like we were talking about some long time horizon. Does that mean there's not going to be Destiny 3? The vision that we talked about is meant to just kind of be entirely game agnostic. Like what we have not been able to say, and in some ways because we hadn't totally figured it out. We got the luxury of spending a bunch of time over the last year trying to figure it out. Is what is the game going to be? All versions of Destiny. We want it to be that awesome action MMO, single global community, and you can play it anywhere. And getting that out into the ecosystem is one part of it. And now the next part is how are we going to do this? Like, the game, we've said this lightly, at different points. The game can't just expand perpetually. There are things like download sizes, and so we've, it already on one platform. You already re-download the game or verify the game every time it updates, and if it was like, it's 170 gig executable, like cool. Do you have 6 hours? And so there are these restrictions that we're gonna butt up against, and we have to figure out how to solve that with the team. But right now, what we're doing is we are focusing on Destiny 2, its model, and then if we were to, if in some far future we're going to do something else, we're going to build on the learning and philosophy that we're developing right now. We want much more consistency in our principles and philosophies and things like that if we were to ever make another Destiny game. But the team and Mark and I for sure are just focused on Destiny 2. Like we've been saying a bunch, we're not done. Our work with Destiny 2 is not finished.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Ryan, you've been working on VR games lately.
Yeah, under the radar at E3 this year. We're working on Iron Man VR for PlayStation VR exclusive. And it's kind of weird being at E3 this year because there's no official presence.
It's like you're actually not at E3.
Yeah,
if anyone asks, no.
Hence the shorts. Hence my vague answers about any questions you may have about the game.
I guess that's why I'm asking.
Appreciate it.
Camouflage
Thanks for
getting into VR development. What's the ramp up on that like? What is it been like? Okay, we're gonna kind of check out everything that's in the market and see what we can learn there and move forward after that.
Yeah, part of the one of the first things we did is we just made a prototype in VR, and we had at the time we were about 35 person team, and now we're about 68 right now, I think. So, and we're all in on Iron Man VR at the moment. But early on, we just decided to just kind of mess around in VR, and we made like a kind of a horror one-room experience. It's kind of very VR 1.0.
Yeah.
But it was super cool, and we used that to pitch around and getting this great game that we have. We also took our first game as a studio, Republic, and we took that to VR. So it was a launch title for Oculus Go. It's not announced yet, but sure, it's coming out to Oculus Quest very soon.
You could probably sideload it. Right now.
It's more or less done.
Yeah.
So we keep dabbling in there. But the interesting thing about VR is that it's such a new medium still, even though it's been around since I was like a kid, and the shopping malls playing it.
Right.
But it still feels like
pterodactyls everywhere.
Yes, I still remember that. It was like horrifying. It felt like so real at the time.
It's a nightmare.
Have you looked back at what it looks like? By the way,
I'm surprised that there hasn't been just a really good port of that thing
I would love
to current headsets. Like someone tried to do it for the DK1.
Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
But there's so much more to learn, right? And one of the ways that we pitched our current game was that we said, this is not going to be an experimental VR game. We're going to play and learn as much as we can from every single VR game before us. So when people do play our game, it feels very comfortable. It feels like it's like the next evolution of where VR is, and we're really leaning into the strengths and learning from all the mistakes that our peers have had to do because they came out before us. It's not going to be a perfect game, obviously, but we're really just trying to be masters at the craft, even though it seems very, very early in its evolution. Right?
Yeah. It sometimes seems like over the last year, it felt like every third or fourth VR developer you talk to was just like, I've solved the problem of locomotion.
Right.
And it was like everyone had a different answer to the question, and it was exciting in a weird way until I don't know. At some point, it feels like the software kind of boiled down a little bit into as more and more of the learnings kind of codified. It was like these games are starting to feel very similar, but also everyone said like, well, we're going to make a shooting gallery. We've got a room and you can shoot some stuff or whatever. And but movement is the cool thing, I think. So when you came by with Iron Man VR,
not officially at E3, but
not here.
Yeah.
I thought it was impressive. Like the way you moved in that world felt very natural for something where you've got like, okay, I've got a headset, and I can't bolt my legs into a thing yet. But for that, if like, okay, no, I get this. I can do some cool tricks and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we really lucked out. We just really leaned into the IP, and while I like it, it was like the perfect pairing of what the move controllers could do, what the character does, and that full fantasy of flying and shooting and being a superhero. Like it was perfect it felt perfect from day one, right? From that initial prototype, and that's what got us the game. That's what got us the deal. So that's we feel really lucky to do that. And I like to say one other thing about like VR locomotion too, because I know you play a lot of VR. Is that for me as a player, the thing that I'm so happy about in the last year and a half is that developers have figured out ways to do first-person movement in a way that is comfortable for most players, which I thought early on that was not going to be possible. I thought we'd be teleporting everywhere. But playing Resident Evil 7 in VR, just full first-person shooter style, it was just like transcendent, and it's so good. And
it's cool that stuff works because I think that was the worry. It was the thing that you kind of grow out of first, depending on the game. You can design around it, but like that teleporting of just like, okay, I'm going to warp from here to here to here to these points of interest, as opposed to just like, let me go through this world and see this stuff. It's like the Forza Vista stuff of like, okay, let me really walk around this car, and even it's not a headset, but like the idea of just like, I'm going to use the Kinect back in the day of just like getting around these cars and doing this stuff. It was that feeling of just like, I'm kind of traversing this world.
Well, and it was a big design challenge to go through, and I don't envy a lot of the work that's been, as you're saying, standing on the shoulders of others. Like, there's been a lot of mistakes that are made, and boy, did we walk that path out with Kinect. I mean, we were incubating what would be a good car experience for that forever. The obvious things of driving and what have you, but quickly we learned that a lot of people actually, when they don't have a wheel in their hand, they become milkers. So they just do this, and I don't know how that presents in a car, but that's how
sure a lot of people watching.
That's how I drive most of the time.
And then we had people crossing over, but we had to learn how people reacted to this stuff, and I think with VR it's the same thing. People have reactions that are emotional, they're unexpected, because we've got years of making games that are unprecedented by this.
Right.
Yeah, or you think about inputs in terms of just like, oh, well, here's how you would really do it. So of course they're going to do the right thing and not just do this or all that sort of stuff. I'm sure that was.
And we prototyped like smashing up a car. So like Street Fighter, the little intermission where you like beat up the car. So
I'm sure the manufacturers just would have loved that.
We didn't get to that stage. We weren't asking that question yet. But ultimately it felt like the movement let you get very personal, and that we ended up having a guiding principle that was we wanted skinship, we wanted touch to the car. You wanted to be able to see the imperfections, get really in close, and and it ended up being an interesting experience. At the end of the day, though, it wasn't core. It really wasn't core to the gameplay loop, and it showed off our technology really well. But we ultimately never really solved the problem of how could we make part of our core gameplay loop include all of this motion going on. So, we threw a lot of people at it, and we didn't crack the code.
Is that something that's hard, especially a series, it's Forza Motorsport 7, you've made a lot of these now. Is it hard to the allure of that sort of thing of just like, let's bring in this new stuff, or let's do like technology for technology's sake. Let's bring this in because it's new and flashy, and we should be doing it. As good corporate citizens, we should be using the new tech to put it in our game and promote it. Is it hard sometimes to make the decision about, okay, like what's core to the game and what should we be reaching for?
That's ebbed and flowed. Our team's been around for a long time, and we've been through different eras at Xbox 360, and now with the Xbox One, and different leadership. And at this point, we're really in a place, and sorry to go all Microsoft and everybody, but like with Satya, Phil Spencer, there's just an incredible emphasis on customer empathy.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical to making good design. And it shelters us as game creators to use the technology to create emotions and feelings in players rather than how do you support this technology?
Right.
So we're in a completely different footing, and it gives us the air cover to just look at technologies and services. You know, so again, Game Pass, xCloud, things like that, as how do we create, you know, a bigger community that really cares about cars and creates a future. I've got 11-year-old kids, twin boys, and I want them to be into cars, but they're not going to be into cars by me lecturing them or forcing technology on them or saying, I need you to think this is cool. I need to develop with them. It has to be empathy. It's got to be bringing them in, making mistakes, throwing away the stuff that doesn't work, and coming up with new stuff. And that is why we're taking time off to really go figure that. But also, as I said, it's fully aligned with how the structure of Microsoft is heading.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last year, but it's been a year, and you know, some things have happened. You know, auto driving is a little more out there.
Yeah.
You talk about, you know, you want your sons to be into cars. It feels like it might not be too many more generations here before, like, are people going to be driving cars and that sort of thing? And what does that mean for a video game based around driving cars if that passion isn't being stoked? You know, do you ever consider that, like, maybe the Forza games become museum-like in a way someday? It's like, hey, this is the only place you can go to really see a car.
I think there's a tremendous risk there, and I actually foist that pressure upon the team and upon us to figure out what should be the future of cars. So when I say shape the future of automotive entertainment, right now I would say we are a mirror, we are a reflection of real-world automotive car culture. And looking at esports and streaming, we must develop new experiences that showcase some of this automotive technology in a new way to a new generation. I mean, a perfect example is you just think about esports. You know, auto racing, you've got people on the track that hate each other, but they're on the same team. Right? So the idea of teamwork in auto racing it goes back to the 1960s, and these flyboys came back from World War II with a death wish, and so they would drive those cars fast. If you lived in that era, which I didn't even live in that era, it's pretty exciting and cool. But you think about teamwork today and in modern esport, like, you don't play League of Legends, you don't play Dota 2 unless you are a squad. You know, Siege, I mean, you have to know your team. Well, that's not in auto racing. So I look at how we could develop a form of motorsport, virtual motorsport, digital motorsport, that appeals to a new generation. It's going to involve teamwork. It's going to involve strategy. And it's going to do things you can't do in the real world. Now, it could still be based on authentic experiences, real physics, but it needs to take in these new sensibilities. And that's the sort of thing that we're incubating as a team. We just did some tests with some of our esports athletes, actually, in a Burbank studio. We're trying different rule sets to invent a new form of motorsport. So a long-winded way of saying that I actually put it on us to come up with what that future is. And, you know, maybe my kids will be playing Forza in an autonomous car, right? Like, the car will be driving, they'll be playing on the screen. I don't know.
I mean, Cuphead runs on a car now, apparently.
Exactly. So, you know, I can't really begrudge that. I can't, you know, sit on my porch and say, like, love things the way they used to be. You know, it's like, no, I want car culture to go, and I want it to evolve and change. And I see us as the ones that are, you know, if we don't do it, who the hell's gonna?
Absolutely. So 7 years in on Warframe.
Yes.
The game has changed so much. It's been free the entire time. I imagine there's just so many players playing it, but also so many players have played it.
And they just disappeared into the ether.
Yeah.
Not literally.
Well,
we didn't kill them.
Okay. Well, that's nice of you.
Thank you.
So this is my specific situation with Warframe, but it's happened in other games, Star Wars Online, a handful of games where I played, let's say, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. I probably played somewhere around 100 hours of Warframe.
Okay.
Like, got pretty good with it.
5 years ago.
Got fairly comfortable with it. And it was like, you know, like other games came out. I had other stuff I had to do. It was like, it was a fun way to spend my vacation, but I have to get back to work and play, you know, whatever's
other
coming
games,
out. Exactly. And so it creates this cycle now where every 9 to 18 months, probably, you know, let's say like 6 to 14 months, I go, man, Warframe. I reinstall, or I've heard something about it. I reinstall Warframe, load up my character, go back in, and I'm like, I have all this stuff. I have no idea what any of it does. I'm on this ship. They've updated it. So there's a thing in the corner. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm supposed to do next, but I don't know what any of these mods are. I don't remember what any of these suits' powers are, let alone do I unlock the powers, or do I have them, or how much of a... are there a lot of players like me? How much effort goes into like the idea of someone's going to return to this game and have no idea what's changed because you've added open worlds and all this other stuff?
We kind of have like the opposite problem because like we didn't make a sequel, so we probably should have by now. But so we're doing like the infinite growth theory, in which our game can continue to sustain more content for as long as as long as people will play it. And yeah, I mean, like I play a lot of RPGs, and sometimes when I log back in, it's like you have your journal, so you saw what you did last, so you can kind of like pick off. But that's not happening in Warframe, and and the best of times you're getting greeted with a custom login screen that's like, this is update so and so, and we redid Melee. But if you haven't played for 2 years, you missed the first screen where we actually redid it again in that time. So it's like,
in some MMOs, it's like 9 messages in a row that says, we refunded you all your skill points. And
yes.
I was like,
oh shit.
Okay.
I don't know how to swear. Sorry.
Or I'll just spec this shit here. Yeah, it's just.
So I think the legacy player issue is real. What are we going to do about that is not going to be the easiest problem for us to solve in the best of cases. We just hope that people
I don't know that I've seen. Yeah, I don't know that I've seen a game that's done it. Like I said, it's like a lot of live games, online games. Like the longer they go, it's that situation of just like, wow.
What is happening in this game? Like as long as like the core action never changes, which it really hasn't, except like when we redid the parkour system, it made it significantly better, and that is just that's the game. Your ship and the mods and everything on it are the pseudo RPG progression for your character.
Right.
But the core game's always kind of staying the same. The problem is the barrier of how to actually jump into a mission and do something, and why are you doing it?
Yeah, because I think that was the feeling. So I would install it and I'd play like 1 or 2 missions.
Did you get through our quest lines? Because we started adding cinematic quests that are sort of the torch to kind of guide a player where to go, like in the dark, murky.
I mean, I've got a quest log now that seems to imply I should be doing stuff. Yeah. There's a radio broadcast.
Yeah, we've introduced a radio play.
Yeah,
in the game, so that's been fun.
It seems like, okay, this seems like the next thing I'm supposed to be doing based on what the log says, and then I'll get out there and do like 1 mission, 2 missions, and maybe find players to play those missions, maybe not, because it's like everyone is way past that stuff and all that, and so it's that situation. It's like I'll play a couple missions and you're like, okay, I'm not sure what I need to do from here.
Everything.
Or I'll go to the station where all the mods are and go like, well, there's an auto assign button, so I'm just going to hit that.
We actually redid that logic.
None of that's there.
That was so bad. We redid it 3 months ago, and it had been in the game for like 4 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now if you did it, it would be a much better system for you. So maybe that was the problem. Maybe auto install set you to
just the worst
the worst build, and you were like, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
No, it's.
But I mean, like bigger than me or whatever, and my dumbass. But just like the idea of just like, hey, this game's been around 7 years. And you have players kind of either starting out new, and then you can always onboard them, but how do you re-onboard a player?
We could, when I look at this, we could track their last login date. We could present them with like a screen at which point, if they've returned from such and such a time. Actually, our subreddit has a bot that does this, so our subreddit mods are better at this than us. It's like I think if they trigger a couple words, it just auto replies like, it looks like you're returning to Warframe, and there's like a 3-paragraph it's awesome. So they've got it figured out. We don't, so we'll have to ask them what to do. But all things considered, we really should do if you're back and you haven't played in a while, do quests, because those really they make it less scary to navigate the solar system, because it's done in a progression where you're encouraged to go to every planet, and you're encouraged to not just do the node, but do the quests that then as a result unlock. So it's a problem, but
I think the one that was Warframe was definitely, but also like Marvel Heroes. I would come back to that every so often.
Oh yeah.
And then it just shut down. So the problem solved.
There you go. I have an idea. I'll cancel Warframe, and then you'll never have this problem again.
TennoCon is coming.
I know. I can't cancel.
Is that the announcement for TennoCon, or are you going to set that over? No. By the way, shut it down.
It was a good run.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It's been great. I'm gonna go now.
Well, all right. Yeah, that's been something that I think about a lot, because and I always wonder, is that a specific problem to me because I play a ton of games for a living and all that stuff? But
it's a problem we think about too. Right? You hear a lot about the barriers for entry, but what about the barriers for re-entry?
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
It's different because you've already gone through for a new player. There's this new user experience. This is how you do all these things. But when you're on hour 152 and you stop playing for 6 months because you're in a coma, or you play other games or whatever, and you come back, there's no new user experience. And so how do you get those people back in the mix right? How do you make it easy for them to play with their friends or to get back on the saddle? It's something we think about a bunch too.
It's really hard because like we just do things all the time. We have like an update a week if it's a good month. Otherwise, an update a month. And if you missed 2 months, you've missed 2 months worth of content, hotfixes, changes, or whatever. And there's really no friendly, name. Yeah.
I think that was something that with Destiny, there was definitely a point where I was like, okay, the stuff that they're adding to Destiny now is stuff that I do not have the time to organize people and do all that stuff. It was a bad feeling in a way. It was just like I guess I'm just not hardcore enough for Destiny anymore. They booted me out.
I think we don't have a massive systems complexity problem, but we've had a problem of like stacking so much content in front of you that like, hey, you come back, you want to play with your friends now, but you've got like 30 hours, and they're like, hey, Jeff, like once you go do all that stuff, you can finally raid with us. You can do the fun thing.
I think the other thing I ran into would be like, oh, I skipped out on an expansion, and now I'm coming back, and the next one is out, and everyone's playing that one, and I'm like, well, I don't want to I kind of want to engage with this content because, why am I here if not to play the game? But then it's like, okay, now I'm chewing through these missions almost like begrudgingly just to get to that point where I should just be like, maybe I just skip these.
Yeah. This is why we did the complete restructure. Like the like new light infrastructure, like the free version of the game is part of the restructuring that hopefully is going to help solve your problem and maybe help you guys think about your problem, which is a bunch of that stuff that has been required, all the campaign missions, all of that stuff, the barrier between you coming back and playing with Brad or whatever. Like we've taken the new light and treated that like a base, and then everything else is going to be additive in an a la carte, non-linear way on top of the base. So you could come in this fall and be like, I heard that the D2 campaign was not very good, so I want to skip that. I just want to play Shadowkeep. You can just play Shadowkeep. You could just play you could come in and just play Forsaken. You don't have to play. You kind of don't have to play anything now. What we've done is really tried to create like an array of content where you play an intro, which if you haven't come back or whatever, it's the intro from Cosmodrome from Destiny 1 because all the Guardians have like a shared origin story in Destiny, and then. You could just kind of 15 minutes in, you'll be playing Shadowkeep or whatever with Brad if you haven't played.
I'm super curious how that's going to work because I'm a lapsed D2 player, and on my studio I've got employees, coworkers that have put thousands of hours into Destiny, and I hear things like every once in a while in the office, and sometimes I have to like tell them to stop talking about it because we need to actually work on the game that we're working on and not talk about Destiny. But I hear Warmind, and I hear Leviathan, and I hear Motes of Light, and I hear all these things, and it feels to me as a lapsed player is that there's more and more complexity being added on, and it adds to this like begrudging feeling like if I'm going to get back in there, how much homework do I have to go through to get to like?
It just sounds like Destiny. More and more of it. At some point, it crosses from like this is really exciting new content to just like maybe this is a chore now.
But that being said,
to get back to where I need to be,
this does sound like the thing that guys like me need. New light, right?
It's not just like people like you. It's it's like my like idiot band of friends. I had to explain it to them. I talk to these guys in Discord every night. I had to explain to them like, no. If you want to come back in Season of Opulence and play the 6-person match-made activity, like it's like Mario Party meets an escape room in Destiny, you literally just log in and like in 25 minutes, you'll be powerful enough to do it. You just do this like attunement quest line for your whole account, and then all of your characters will have 690 gear, and we're just there. And you're like, well, and it doesn't matter that like Noseworthy and I were grinding in the previous season to get to 690, because what we've done with the power game in a bunch of ways is like get people's power number up to the threshold where you can just fucking play with each other.
At the start of every season, like converge old players, new players,
single community,
legacy players. Yeah.
For me,
so they can all just believe that now is the best time to be playing Destiny. We want that experience where we have an event happening at around Halloween or something new is happening in the game and you hear about it. We want you to be able to just come back and participate in that cool thing and not be like, I've got all these chores I got to do before I can have fun. Right?
Do you ever worry that will result in the diehard Destiny players feeling like their experience has been trivialized because you're like letting someone else walk in and get 690 gear, and they're like, "Hey, I had to raid to get that."
I was going to say that because, like, I was going to say, how do you fix the problem of I worry I'm going to feel bad because all of my team members went through hell and back.
But you're going to be, you're going to be in like kind of goober. You're going to look like a goober You're gonna be in like goobery blue gear.
I'm okay with that,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, I'm okay with that too, because like I look sweet and you look like a goober, and you're not gonna have the sweet guns. Like, there's gonna be these power differences that manifest themselves in a way that's not like preventing us from playing together.
We were worried about it. Like the first time we did this was 3 months ago with the Drifter. We had these power surge bounties, and we're like, does this just like trivialize the power game for everyone, or does this say what happened in the previous season didn't matter? But that's not how people felt. It's not how it felt as a player. Like it helped me get back in, and you were already high light level, because the community they want to play with their friends. You know, they want to have lots of people in the hopper for fast matchmaking.
Right.
You want to run into public spaces and run into other players, and so I think people feel okay about that. And the person who's going to play 20, 30 hours a week, they're going to move up the power curve and really quickly get the new gear much faster, and they're going to stand out in the way that they want to, right? And so we were worried about that, but it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Ryan, you've obviously camouflage been around for a while.
8 years now.
It's something. This might be a weird question.
Sure, please.
What do you think of Death Stranding?
Oh, can we? Can we do this? Can we do this?
Did Luke put you up to
He did not, but I just
do this.
knowing that you have history with the Metal Gear franchise.
Oh, yay.
Does my chair come with a seatbelt? I'm so excited. I've been waiting all week for someone to ask about Death Stranding when I'm around. Go ahead.
Well, and then we'll ask Luke what he thinks of Death Stranding.
Oh, wait, this is...
So, there's this weird thing that only a few people, actually, in this industry, I think they can empathize with me, which is when you have that really incredible privilege to be associated with like a world-class studio, and then you leave and you go away. Like, there's this weird feeling. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like maybe it's such a weird analogy, but like you were dating somebody and you want them to be happy, but you also don't want them to be like too happy without you. You know? And so,
Yeah.
it was when I played Metal Gear Solid 5, for example. At first, I thought, this game's really good, and they don't need me. You know, like the controls, like, because I worked a lot on the controls of MGS4, and I thought, you know what, they really don't need me. This is even better than MGS4, and then just seeing them go. So it's an interesting thing. I kind of watch from afar a little bit. I try not to get too much into the lore. Like Luke and myself and Mark McDonald and Brian Itzahar, we have like this shared chat, and it's beautiful. But I have to I can't participate too much because I don't know. It's like a part of my life when I was living in Japan 10 years ago.
Right.
And so again, I really want them to be super happy, but I don't go frame by frame like Luke does to try to analyze like why is there a baby in a
Giving you the thumbs up, and
Giving you a
Mads
thumbs
Mikkelsen
up,
singing
and-
me a sweet song, and dudes firing flares from their fingers, making it rain, taking off a mask to reveal another mask, teleporting and licking someone. You don't frame by frame that?
I don't frame by frame, even though I think it looks incredible. It looks unbelievable. I don't know even how it's going to play. I mean, you were trying to explain to me that it's a new gameplay type.
It's a strand
I don't
game.
really-
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really-
Everyone's making strand games now.
I'm not going to stand for that. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to defend. I don't know what that means, and I don't know anything about the gameplay. But this game seems like it's going to have cinematics. So I think that's pretty exciting versus Phantom Pain.
But I feel like Phantom Pain also pre-release looked like a game that had cinematics, and it had like 4.
I went back and a buddy of mine we were talking about this, and I was like sending him whale emojis. Which whale to
whale,
use,
yeah.
right? The one whale.
Yeah.
He was like, "Did you go back and watch this trailer?" And he sends me a trailer for Phantom Pain, and I've been replaying Phantom Pain over the last month or so, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, these aren't in the game at all." And he's like, "That's your god now." Shit. I'm just trying to believe. I really want to believe.
Can I throw a weird question back at you? Jeff?
Absolutely.
Which is like how? I mean, you cover games for a living. You play a lot of games. You talk to a lot of game creators. Like when I look at that, it's hard for me to understand exactly what that game is. I think it's probably by design, right? He's really good at the mystery box. Yeah, but like when you look at it, do you imagine this game being one of those games that at the Game Awards this year, Hideo's going to be up there collecting a bunch of Game Awards? Or are you going to see it as something that could be very perplexing, where people are really divided on the game device? Is it going to be a very divisive game? Do you feel? Or?
I think it could very easily. I think that Phantom Pain was a divisive game in a lot of ways. Just by virtue of it kind of getting away from the
linear,
very cinematic and very linear approach of the previous games. And I think there were a lot of people that were, like, hey, there's just not enough weird story in Phantom Pain for my taste. And so when I think about Death Stranding and I think about, okay, this is a team that is, was built to make this game, got that engine from Sony to do it, and all that sort of stuff. In my head, I'm thinking it kind of has to be Phantom Pain-esque in that it's got to be not a ton of, not as much very expensive dramatic cutscenes as the earlier MGS games. I'm thinking it's going to be that type of, okay, we've found we're going to create a world and put a bunch of gameplay in it, because that seems like it would be less expensive, I guess, or not take less time or something like that.
Or more fun too.
Potentially, yeah.
MGS5. I hope I don't upset a lot of Metal Gear fans, but I feel like the story was the weakest part of it, and I felt like the open world sandbox was just so good.
It was like over 100 hours. They flipped the whole thing on its head in a weird way of just like, hey, this is not even, if you, in some ways, it's barely recognizable as a Metal Gear game at that point, and with the changes and going light on the story, like I like it weird. So
I think you're in for a treat then.
But I guess I
think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Is it 20 hours of nonstop weird, or is it pockets of extreme weirdness in these cutscenes with an open world where I'm just like following in someone's footsteps because it's an online game and or, strands and like that sort of thing. Those are the questions I think I'm left.
Is there
with.
a more desirable option? Sorry.
Oh, no, please, sir.
Yeah.
Do you want the pockets or do you want the ever permeating small doses?
I think I want the constant.
You just want weird smacking you in the face.
Weird.
So I've changed in this as well, because like you can go back and read the review I wrote of Metal Gear Solid, and I literally wrote like this guy should just go make movies. What the hell is he doing making video games? There's barely any game here. And over time I was like, actually just give me that weird stuff. And like I know like like playing Metal Gear Solid. I think 4 was actually where a lot of it came together, where it's like I enjoyed the gameplay as much as the story stuff, and then 5 is just off in this completely different direction. So I just I just wonder if you would have any special insight as having worked closely or worked on that team. There are things you see when you watch that trailer, you're like, I know.
Oh yeah, it's hard not to.
Okay.
And Dan and I used to work at Microsoft and worked on Halo, and it's the same kind of thing. Seeing the Halo Infinite trailer, it was you get this weird feeling, because you're not associated with it anymore, and,
right.
But you also want them to be successful, but not as much without you, kind of thing. But
naturally, of course, yeah. No, that's.
But back to your desire about wanting something weird from Death Stranding. Here's like something that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Like Hideo, when he works on games, it's very autobiographical, and clearly,
that makes sense now.
Clearly, the Konami separation experience was not a pleasant one. So I think that he's going to. It's clear. I think there's a lot of metaphor in what's going on, and it'd be interesting to see what fan theories come out really about.
Oh man, already it's people just going like, well, it's clearly that this is just the sequel to PT, and also this is still just Phantom Pain, and like people mapping characters from one to the other.
Oh, I'm sure.
To which I look at it and go like, well, I mean, like it's some of these same people. They have like a way they like to do things. They have actors they wanted to use that they're using again. It's not necessarily the same character, and those sorts of things.
And I take credit for this theory when I first saw the first Death Stranding trailer. Which was, when I saw it, I see a little differently because having worked there.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know if you remember it, but it has Norman Reedus and he's got handcuffs, and then they're broken, and there's a baby, and he's naked.
Yeah.
And it's Hideo. There's like naked Snake. This was his baby Metal Gear, and then it's taken away from him. It disappears, and he's got like the handcuffs are off, and he's looking off in the future, and there's this kind of creepy horizon, and to me it was completely autobiographical.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the game I would have made if I had made a game instead of starting Giant Bomb. It would have been like the handcuffs, shackles, pushed out into the open world. Yeah, all that same stuff.
Can we just fire up the trailer from 2 weeks ago and let's work on it together?
Let's
just run this shit and talk about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna send it on home. Thank you so much all for coming through. It's been great talking with you. I hope you have a terrific rest of your show.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll cut this off and we'll watch the Death Stranding trailer about 3 or 4 times and really get to the bottom of this. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more guests soon.